So today we're going to talk about post-colonialism. But look, this isn't some dry, dusty academic theory. Think of it more like putting on a new pair of glasses, a powerful new way to see the world we all live in, a world that, it turns out, looks completely different depending on where you happen to be standing. Let me just start by asking you something. Have you ever had that experience? You walk into a room, you look around, and it suddenly hits you. You're the only one. For just a second, you get that little jolt, that quick taste of what it feels like to not be the default, to be on the outside looking in. Or what about this one? The feeling that your story, your life, is always being told for you by someone else. Like you're a character in a movie about your own life, but you didn't get to write the script and you're definitely not directing. And then, what happens when you zoom out? When that feeling gets bigger, and you start to sense that the whole world, its rules, its history books, what it considers important, was all fundamentally built for someone else, and you're just kind of living in it.
Well, that feeling right there is the real starting point for postcolonialism. At its heart, it's about a really simple but totally radical idea. It means flipping the map upside down. It's about asking that crucial question. Okay, but how do things look from down here, from the margins?
So the first thing we really have to ask is, whose knowledge gets to be the official story? And this gets us right to a core conflict, the clash between what we're told is universal, authorized truth, and the knowledge that comes from actual lived experience on the ground. The revolutionary thinker Frantz Fanon just captured this feeling perfectly. He wrote about the psychological shock of realizing that to the world, you aren't a person with your own story and your own will. You're an object. Something to be looked at, to be studied, to be defined from the outside. And here's where you can really see that power dynamic broken down. On one side, you've got metropolitan knowledge. This is the official version, right? It's generated in powerful Western institutions, and it's presented as the universal truth. But on the other side, you've got what's called subaltern knowledge. Subaltern just means someone in a subordinate position. This isn't theory. This is knowledge that comes from the dispossessed. It's based entirely on what people have actually lived through. And living in that conflict creates what the novelist Tsitsi Dangarembga famously called the nervous condition. It's that constant feeling of being stretched between two worlds. You're told to assimilate into the dominant culture, but you're also constantly being reminded that you'll never, ever fully belong. It's this endless internal tug of war.
Okay, so let's see what happens when we use this lens to look at history. Because a post-colonial perspective doesn't just add a few new footnotes to the official story. No, it uncovers entirely different stories. Stories that were happening at the exact same time, but were completely and often deliberately ignored.
I want you to picture this. It's Paris, 1840, the glittering cultural heart of a global empire. A sophisticated audience is in a theater, totally mesmerized by a clever new play about illusion and reality. They leave marveling at the genius of it all.
Okay, now, at that exact same time, 900 miles to the south, in French-occupied Algeria, a very different kind of reality is playing out. A tribe that has been resisting the French invasion has been cornered and trapped inside a network of caves.
The French commander, General Bugeaud, orders the entrances to the caves sealed. He then has huge fires lit, asphyxiating everyone inside with smoke. He reportedly wrote about it, saying, "I make a huge cemetery." He called the victims fanatics. This is the brutal, hidden reality that's paying for the high culture back in Paris.
And you might think, okay, that was a long time ago, but the source material points out this really chilling parallel. The tactics used in colonial Algeria have echoes in modern warfare. The technology is way more advanced, of course, but the fundamental logic of suffocating your enemy in a cave, that endures. And this brings us from hidden histories to a very tangible, very material struggle that's still happening today, the fight for land. Because when you boil it all down, so much of colonial power was, and still is, about the simple, brutal act of taking land from people. I mean, just look at this number from Brazil. It is staggering. Only 3% of the population owns 2/3 of the country's farmable land. Meanwhile, millions of people have none. This is a direct legacy of a colonial system, and it fuels one of the biggest social movements in the world. So how do people fight back against that? Well, Brazil's landless workers movement, the MST, has this incredibly simple but powerful three-step strategy. 1, they occupy huge tracts of unused land. 2, they resist any attempts at eviction. And 3,
They begin to produce, creating new communities literally from the ground up. It's direct action born out of pure necessity. And this isn't just a story about Brazil. This is happening all over the world, from Palestinian farmers demanding the right to return to their family's land, to Aboriginal movements in Australia fighting for what they call native title. This struggle of the dispossessed is a defining global story of our time. So how do powerful states maintain these kinds of inequalities? Well, often it's by drawing lines. The creation and militarization of borders and walls is one of the key tools for controlling people, for policing identity, and for protecting privilege. Just think about the map of the West Bank that was created after the Oslo Accords. It's not a single connected territory. It's more like a collection of fragments, little islands of land that are separated from each other by checkpoints, walls, and military zones. The source we're drawing from here compares it to the Bantustans of apartheid South Africa, which were designed specifically to fragment and control a population. And walls are not a new invention, but their purpose has been remarkably consistent throughout history. Whether you're talking about the Romans building Hadrian's Wall to keep so-called barbarians out, or modern nations building walls to keep migrants out, it's ultimately all about control, about separating populations and enforcing a hierarchy.
So we end right back where we began, with a question for you. After turning the world upside down, even for just these few minutes, what looks different? Because once you start seeing from below, from the perspective of the object, of the subaltern, of the dispossessed, it's very, very hard to ever see the world the same way again.